I want you to think about this for a moment. How many times have you had a goal, a dream, or a task that you knew was important, but you didn't feel like doing it? How often have you pushed aside what needs to be done because you weren't in the mood? Let me tell you, my friends, this is where the battle is won or lost. You see, success isn't about feeling good all the time. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike or for the perfect moment to arrive. Success is about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's about pushing through the resistance, overcoming the inertia, and taking action despite your feelings. I remember a young man who came to me once complaining that he couldn't get ahead in life. He had dreams, he had goals, but he just couldn't seem to make progress. I asked him, "What do you do on the days when you don't feel like working towards your goals?" He looked at me puzzled and said, "Well, on those days I don't do anything. I wait until I feel motivating." And there it was, plain as day. The reason he wasn't succeeding was staring him right in the face. He was letting his feelings dictate his actions. He was a slave to his moods, a prisoner of his emotions. And let me tell you, my friends, that is no way to live, and certainly no way to succeed. You see, successful people have learned a crucial lesson. They don't wait to feel like it. They do it anyway. They push through the resistance. They force themselves to take action regardless of how they feel. And that, my friends, is what separates them from the rest. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jim, that sounds hard. That sounds uncomfortable. And you're right, it is hard. It is uncomfortable. But let me ask you this, what's more uncomfortable? Pushing yourself to work when you don't feel like it, or living a life of regret and unfulfilled potential? You see, discomfort is the price of growth. It's the cost of achievement. And if you're not willing to pay that price, if you're not willing to embrace that discomfort, then you're choosing to settle for less than you're capable of. Let me share a little secret with you. The most successful people in the world, the ones who achieve greatness, they don't always feel like doing what they do. The champion athlete doesn't always feel like training. The successful entrepreneur doesn't always feel like making those sales calls. The best-selling author doesn't always feel like writing. But here's what sets them apart. They do it anyway. They've trained themselves to take action regardless of their feelings. They've developed the discipline to push through the resistance and do what needs to be done. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but Jim, I'm just not disciplined like that. I'm not motivated enough. Well, let me tell you something. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you develop. It's a skill you can learn and improve over time. Think of discipline like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're strengthening that discipline muscle. You're building your capacity to push through resistance and take action. And here's the beautiful thing, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It never becomes easy, mind you, but it does become easier. You start to build momentum, you start to see results. And those results fuel your motivation, which in turn makes it easier to take action next time. But here's the key, you have to start. You have to make the decision right here, right now, that you're going to stop being a slave to your feelings. You're going to stop waiting to feel like it. You're going to start taking action regardless of how you feel. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Jim, what about balance? What about self-care? Shouldn't we listen to our feelings sometimes? And you're right to ask that. Balance is important. Self-care is crucial. But here's the thing, true self-care isn't about indulging your every whim and feeling. It's about doing what's best for your long-term well-being and success. Sometimes the most caring thing you can do for yourself is to push yourself to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Because the satisfaction of achievement, the pride of overcoming resistance, the joy of reaching your goals, that's true self-care. That's what really nourishes your soul and builds your self-esteem. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who dreamed of writing a book. He had a great idea. He had the skills, but every time he sat down to write, he just didn't feel like it. There was always something else to do. Watch TV, scroll through social media, call a friend. And so day after day, week after week, month after month, his book remained unwritten. One day he realized that if he kept waiting to feel like writing, his book would never get written. So he made a decision. He decided that every day, no matter what, he would write for at least an hour. Some days the words flowed easily. Other days it was like pulling teeth. But he stuck to his commitment. And you know what happened? After a year of consistent effort, of forcing himself to write even when he didn't feel like it. He had a finished manuscript. Not only that, but he had developed a habit of discipline that spilled over into other areas of his life. He started eating healthier, exercising regularly, and pursuing other goals he had put off for years. You see, when you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just accomplishing a task. You're building character. You're developing discipline. You're becoming the kind of person who can achieve great things. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about working yourself to the bone. This isn't about ignoring your physical and mental health. This is about making a conscious choice to do what needs to be done, even when your feelings are telling you to take the easy way out. It's about recognizing that your feelings are not always aligned with your goals and your values. It's about understanding that sometimes the path to happiness and fulfillment lies through temporary discomfort and resistance. Think about it this way. Every time you force yourself to work, when you don't feel like it, you're making a deposit in your success account. You're investing in your future. You're building the habits and the character that will carry you to your goals. On the other hand, every time you give in to your feelings and avoid doing what needs to be done, you're making a withdrawal from that account. You're reinforcing the habit of procrastination. You're training yourself to be a slave to your moods and emotions. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment, imagine if for the next year you consistently force yourself to work on your most important goals, even when you didn't feel like it. Imagine if you pushed through the resistance, overcame the inertia, and took action day after day, regardless of your feelings. Where would you be a year from now? How much progress would you have made? How much closer would you be to your dreams? How much stronger would your discipline muscle be? The potential is enormous. The possibilities are limitless. But it all starts with a decision. A decision to stop waiting to feel like it. A decision to start taking action regardless of how you feel. Now, I know this isn't easy. I know it goes against our natural inclinations. We're wired to seek comfort, to avoid discomfort. But here's the thing, growth happens outside of your comfort zone. Achievement lies on the other side of resistance. So how do we do this? How do we force ourselves to work when we don't feel like it? Well, let me share with you some strategies that I've found effective over the years. First, start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one area, one task, one goal that's important to you. Commit to working on it for just 15 minutes a day, no matter how you feel. You can do anything for 15 minutes, right? And often you'll find that once you start, you'll want to continue beyond those 15 minutes. Second, create a routine. Our brains love routine. When we do something consistently at the same time each day, it becomes a habit. And habits are powerful. They bypass our feelings and make action automatic. So schedule your important work for the same time each day and stick to that schedule no matter what. Third, use the 5-second rule. When you know you need to do something but you don't feel like it, count backwards from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then immediately take action. This short circuits your brain's tendency to overthink and make excuses. Fourth, focus on the benefits. When you're struggling to get started, don't think about the task itself. Think about why you're doing it. Think about your goals, your dreams, the person you want to become. Let that vision pull you forward. Fifth, break it down. Often we don't feel like doing something because it seems overwhelming. So break it down into smaller, manageable steps. Focus on just the next step, not the entire journey. Sixth, use positive peer pressure. Tell someone about your commitment. Ask them to hold you accountable. It's harder to slack off when you know someone is going to ask you about your progress. Seventh, reward yourself. After you've pushed through and done the work, give yourself a small reward. This helps train your brain to associate the effort with something positive. Now, I want to address something important here. Some of you might be thinking, but Jim, what about passion? What about loving what you do? Shouldn't work be enjoyable? And you're right to ask that. Passion is important. Enjoying your work is valuable. But here's the truth. Even when you're passionate about something, even when you love what you do, there will be days when you don't feel like doing it. The most passionate writer still faces days when the words won't come. The most enthusiastic entrepreneur still faces tasks they'd rather avoid. The most dedicated athlete still has days when they'd rather stay in bed than hit the gym. Passion isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about believing in what you're doing even when it's hard. It's about pushing through the difficult days because you know it's worth it in the long run. In fact, I'd argue that the ability to work when you don't feel like it is what allows you to pursue your passions in the first place. It's what turns a hobby into a career, a dream into a reality, a goal into an achievement. Think about any great achievement in history. Do you think it was accomplished by people who only worked when they felt like it? Of course not. It was accomplished by people who showed up day after day, who pushed through resistance, who forced themselves to keep going even when they didn't feel like it. The Wright brothers didn't feel like failing hundreds of times before they successfully flew. But they pushed through. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't always feel like facing hatred and violence, but he pushed through. Every great inventor, leader, artist, and entrepreneur has had to force themselves to work when they didn't feel like it. And here's the thing, when you develop this ability, when you learn to push through resistance and take action, regardless of your feelings, you become unstoppable. You become the master of your own destiny. You gain a superpower that most people never develop. Because let's face it, most people are slaves to their feelings. They're at the mercy of their moods. They only work when they feel inspired, motivated, or pressured, and as a result, their lives are a roller coaster of sporadic progress and long periods of stagnation. But when you can work when you don't feel like it, you create consistency. And consistency, my friends, is the key to success in any endeavor. It's not the occasional burst of inspiration that achieves great things. It's the day in, day out grind, the ability to show up and do the work no matter what. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about ignoring your feelings entirely. Your feelings are important. They provide valuable information. Sometimes, when you don't feel like doing something, it's a sign that you need to rest or that you're on the wrong path. The key is to learn to distinguish between the resistance that comes from growth and the resistance that comes from genuine need. It's about developing the wisdom to know when to push through and when to pause and reassess. But here's the thing, most of the time when you don't feel like doing something important, it's not because you need rest. It's not because you're on the wrong path. It's simply because your brain is trying to keep you safe, to keep you in your comfort zone. You see, our brains are wired for survival, not for success. They're designed to conserve energy, to avoid risk, to stick with the familiar. And that served us well when we were living in caves, trying to avoid becoming a predator's dinner. But in today's world, that same instinct can hold us back. It can keep us stuck in mediocrity, prevent us from reaching our potential, stop us from achieving our dreams. That's why it's so important to learn to override that instinct, to push through the resistance, to force yourself to work when you don't feel like it. Because here's the beautiful irony, the more you do this, the more you'll actually start to enjoy the work. You'll start to associate the effort with the satisfaction of achievement. You'll start to take pride in your ability to push through resistance. And over time, you'll find that the resistance lessens. It never goes away entirely. That's not the goal. But it becomes more manageable. You become stronger than the resistance. Now, I want you to think about something for a moment. Think about the goals you have, the dreams you've been putting off, the tasks you've been avoiding. What if starting today, you committed to working on them for just 15 minutes a day, no matter how you feel? What if, for the next 30 days, you forced yourself to take action towards your most important goal, regardless of your mood or motivation? How much progress could you make? How much momentum could you build? I'll tell you what would happen. You'd start to see results, maybe small at first, but visible. And those results would fuel your motivation. They'd strengthen your belief in yourself. They'd build your confidence. And as you continue this practice, as you keep forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it, something magical happens. You start to become a different person. You start to see yourself differently. You're no longer at the mercy of your feelings. You're in control. You're the captain of your own ship. You see, success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. And when you develop the ability to work when you don't feel like it, you become someone who can achieve anything they set their mind to. You become resilient. You become disciplined. You become unstoppable. And that, my friends, is true freedom. It's the freedom to pursue your dreams, to achieve your goals, to become the person you were meant to be. It's the freedom that comes from knowing that you're in control, that your actions aren't dictated by your fleeting feelings, but by your enduring values and aspirations. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Jim, what about work-life balance? What about enjoying life? And these are valid concerns. We're not talking about becoming workaholics here. We're not talking about grinding yourself into the ground. What we're talking about is being intentional with your time and energy. It's about recognizing that sometimes the path to a more enjoyable, fulfilling life lies through temporary discomfort and effort. Think about it this way, which is more enjoyable in the long run. Watching TV every night because you don't feel like working on your goals, or pushing through the resistance, making progress, and eventually achieving those goals, which leads to more life satisfaction. Giving in every fleeting desire and impulse, or developing the discipline to do what's truly important to you. The ability to work when you don't feel like it doesn't diminish your enjoyment of life. On the contrary, it enhances it. It allows you to enjoy life on your terms, to create the life you want, rather than settling for whatever life happens to throw your way. Now, let's talk about another important aspect of this principle. When you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just developing discipline. You're also developing resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to keep going in the face of adversity. And in today's world, resilience is more important than ever. The pace of change is accelerating. Uncertainty is increasing. The ability to adapt, to persevere, to keep moving forward even when things get tough, that's what will determine your success in the years to come. And here's the thing, resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you develop. And you develop it by doing hard things, by pushing through resistance, by forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it. Every time you do this, you're building your resilience muscle. You're teaching yourself that you can handle discomfort, that you can push through difficulty, that you can keep going even when you don't feel like it. And that resilience spills over into every area of your life. It helps you handle stress better. It helps you bounce back from setbacks faster. It helps you adapt to change more easily. It makes you stronger, more capable, more confident. Think about the most successful people you know. I bet they're also some of the most resilient people you know. They don't crumble at the first sign of difficulty. They don't give up when things get tough. They keep going, they adapt, they find a way. And that's what you're developing when you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it. You're developing that same resilience, that same ability to keep going no matter what. Now, let's talk about another crucial aspect of this principle, consistency. You see, success in any area of life isn't about occasional bursts of effort. It's about consistent, sustained action over time. Think about building muscle. You don't get strong by going to the gym once a month and lifting heavy weights for hours. You get strong by going to the gym regularly, day after day, week after week, month after month. The same principle applies to every area of life. You don't become a great writer by writing whenever inspiration strikes. You become a great writer by writing every day, whether you feel inspired or not. You don't build a successful business by working hard only when you feel motivated. You build a successful business by showing up every day, putting in the work, whether you feel like it or not. And here's the beautiful thing about consistency, it compounds. Small, consistent efforts, repeated over time, lead to enormous results. It's like the story of the tortoise and the hare. Slow and steady really does win the race. But here's the catch. Consistency is hard. It's easy to do something once. It's easy to get excited and then put in a burst of effort. What's hard is showing up day after day, especially on the days when you don't feel like it. That's why the ability to work when you don't feel like it is so crucial. It's what allows you to be consistent. It's what allows you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, keep making progress, even when you don't feel motivated, even when you don't see immediate results. And let me tell you, my friends, that's where the magic happens. That's where you separate yourself from the pack. That's where you start to see real, lasting change in your life. Now, I want to address something important here. Some of you might be thinking, but Jim, what if I burn out? What if I push myself too hard? And these are valid concerns. We're not talking about grinding yourself into the ground here. We're not talking about ignoring your physical and mental health. What we're talking about is developing the ability to override your immediate feelings when they're not serving your long-term goals. We're talking about being able to do what's important, not just what's comfortable or convenient. And here's the irony. When you develop this ability, you're actually less likely to burn out. Why? Because you're not wasting energy fighting yourself. You're not constantly battling between what you know you should do and what you feel like doing. You're aligned. You're in flow. Plus, when you're consistently making progress towards your goals, you feel energized. You feel satisfied. You feel fulfilled, and that positive energy fuels you to keep going. Now, let's talk about another crucial benefit of forcing yourself to work when you don't feel like it. It builds self-trust. You see, every time you make a commitment to yourself and follow through, even when it's hard, you're building trust with yourself. Think about it. If you had a friend who constantly made promises and then broke them, how much would you trust that friend? Not much, right? Well, the same principle applies to your relationship with yourself. When you consistently do what you say you're going to do, when you follow through on your commitments to yourself, you start to trust yourself more. You start to believe in yourself more. You start to see yourself as someone who can be relied upon, someone who can achieve their goals, someone who can make things happen. And that self-trust is invaluable. It gives you confidence. It gives you courage. It allows you to set bigger goals, to take on bigger challenges, because you know that you can trust yourself to follow through. On the flip side, when you constantly give in to your feelings, when you consistently choose comfort over growth, you erode that self-trust. You start to see yourself as unreliable, as someone who can't follow through, as someone who's at the mercy of their feelings and circumstances. So every time you force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, you're not just making progress on your immediate task. You're also making a deposit in your self-trust account. You're strengthening your belief in yourself. And over time, that compounds into an unshakable self-confidence that will serve you in every area of your life. Now let's talk about another important aspect of this principle. It develops your decision-making muscle. You see, every time you choose to work when you don't feel like it, you're making a decision. You're choosing long-term benefit over short-term comfort. You're choosing growth over stagnation. You're choosing your goals over your feelings. And here's the thing, decision-making is a skill. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. The more you exercise your ability to make tough decisions, to choose what's important over what's easy, the stronger that ability becomes. This has profound implications for every area of your life. Think about it. Success in any endeavor, whether it's business, relationships, health, or personal growth, comes down to making good decisions consistently over time. When you develop the ability to override your immediate feelings and do what needs to be done, you're developing the ability to make better decisions in every area of your life. You're training yourself to think long-term, to consider consequences, to choose what's truly important rather than what's immediately gratifying. And that, my friends, is a superpower. It's what allows you to stay focused on your goals when distractions arise. It's what allows you to stick to your diet when temptation strikes. It's what allows you to invest in your future when it would be easier to spend on immediate pleasures. Now, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the idea of passion. You see, there's a common misconception out there that if you're passionate about something, it should always feel easy. That if you love what you do, you should always feel motivated to do it. But that's not how passion works. That's not how love works. Ask any parent if they always feel like getting up in the middle of the night to care for their child. Ask any entrepreneur if they always feel like dealing with the challenges of running a business. Ask any artist if they always feel inspired to create. The truth is, passion isn't about always feeling good. It's about believing in something so much that you're willing to suffer for it. It's about caring about something so deeply that you're willing to push through the hard times, the doubts, the setbacks. Real passion, real love isn't just about enjoying the good times. It's about being willing to work through the tough times. It's about showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it, because you believe in what you're doing. And here's the beautiful thing. When you approach your passions this way, when you're willing to work on them, even when you don't feel like it, your passion grows stronger. Your commitment deepens. Your love for what you do intensifies. Because you're not just skimming the surface anymore. You're not just enjoying the easy, fun parts. You're diving deep. You're embracing the full experience, challenges and all. And that depth of experience, that willingness to engage fully, even with the difficult parts, that's what turns a passing interest into a lifelong passion. Now, as we start to wrap up, I want to address one more crucial point, the importance of starting now. You see, one of the biggest traps we can fall into is the trap of waiting until we feel ready. Waiting until conditions are perfect. Waiting until we feel motivated. But here's the truth, that perfect moment never comes. There's never going to be a time when you always feel like doing the work. There's never going to be a time when there are no distractions, no challenges, no reasons to procrastinate. The secret of success is to start now with whatever you have, wherever you are. To take that first step, even if it's small, even if you don't feel like it. Because here's the thing, action creates motivation. Motion creates emotion. When you start moving, no matter how small the step, you start to build momentum. And that momentum can carry you forward, even on the days when you don't feel like pushing yourself. So I challenge you right here, right now, to make a commitment to yourself. Choose one important goal, one crucial task that you've been putting off. Commit to working on it for just 15 minutes today, no matter how you feel. And then do the same thing tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. It won't be easy. There will be days when you don't feel like it. There will be days when you want to give up. But if you can push through those days, if you can force yourself to do the work even when you don't feel like it, you'll start to see changes. You'll start to build momentum. You'll start to see progress. You'll start to believe in yourself more. And bit by bit, day by day, you'll be moving closer to your goals, closer to the life you want to live. Remember, success is not about feeling good all the time. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike. It's about doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's about being willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term gain. It's about being committed to your goals, your dreams, your vision, even on the days when it's hard. And as you develop this ability, as you strengthen this muscle, you'll find that you're capable of so much more than you ever thought possible. You'll discover strengths you didn't know you had. You'll achieve things you once thought were out of reach. Because the truth is, you are capable of amazing things. You have untapped potential within you. But that potential isn't realized through wishful thinking or waiting for the right moment. It's realized through consistent action, through pushing yourself, through doing the work even when you don't feel like it. So I urge you, don't wait. Don't put it off. Start today. Start now. Take that first step, no matter how small. Force yourself to do what needs to be done, even if you don't feel like it. And then do it again tomorrow. And the next day. And the day after that. Because that's how success is built. That's how dreams are achieved. That's how lives are transformed. You have greatness within you. You have the power to shape your life, to achieve your goals, to make your dreams a reality. But that power is only activated through action. It's only realized through consistent effort, through pushing yourself, through doing the work, even when you don't feel like it. So make that commitment to yourself today. Decide that from this moment forward, you're going to be someone who takes action regardless of how you feel. Decide that you're going to be someone who pushes through resistance, who overcomes obstacles, who does what needs to be done. Because when you make that decision, when you commit to that path, you set yourself on a trajectory toward success. You open up a world of possibilities. You become unstoppable. Remember, the pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. The discomfort of pushing yourself is nothing compared to the disappointment of unrealized potential. The challenge of doing the work is small compared to the reward of achieving your dreams. So embrace the challenge. Welcome the discomfort. Force yourself to work when you don't feel like it. Because on the other side of that effort, on the other side of that resistance, is everything you've ever wanted. You have the power. You have the potential. Now it's time to put it into action. It's time to become the person you were meant to be. It's time to achieve the success you deserve. The journey starts now. The time is here. The moment is this. Force yourself to work when you don't feel like it, and watch as you transform your life one day at a time. Thank you.